Hello, how are you today? My name is Shannon and this is my YouTube channel, Whisky and Wool. This is my Knitter's Life series, Season 5, Episode 4. I hope you're doing well. Thank you for dropping in and checking me out, and welcome back if you're a returning viewer. I have had a couple weeks since my last episode, and well, I'm going to jump right into what I've been working on and the pitfalls that I experienced with this sweater, this work in progress. So first, let me start with finished objects. I have a finished object. I finished the Bohemica cowl by Carol Sunday, pattern by Carol Sunday. It's from 2012, so its pattern's been around a little bit. And I knitted out of Clinton Hill cashmere Bespoke, which is a worsted base. Oh my goodness. Yes, there you go. In the color Scarlet. It knit up pretty fast. The cowl is fully reversible, although my ends are tucked in on the other side. I mean, I didn't trim them close, so it could be reversible, but I found that interesting, an interesting thing about it. Let me slip it on so you can see how it looks. It does collapse more than I was kind of hoping it would be like this, but it does collapse quite a bit, and I did actually do one extra repeat of the cable crossovers because I still had yarn, and I got nervous that I wasn't going to have enough to do another repeat. So this is all I have left of 4 skeins of this, and this is roughly, it's 99 yards. I was going to say it's roughly 100 yards. It's 99 yards, so and 100 grams? No, 50 grams. 50 grams. But yeah, I like it. I've worn it a few times. I do wish it were closer to my neck and not as collapsible, but I think I actually liked it before I blocked it, so I probably shouldn't have blocked it. I just didn't know it was gonna grow so much. But it is really cozy, and I'm sure there's gonna be times where I'm gonna be glad it's not close to my neck. But it's so easy to wear. It's just like pop it over my head and yeah, it's ready to go. Yeah, so it should have stopped like here. So this part here, these extra few inches. It's really cool. I love the stitch pattern, the effect that you get. It would be a interesting sweater too, although figuring out the ease would be, challenging. You'd have to make a big, huge swatch like this and then do the gauge from there, because it did shrink. I mean, it did grow quite a lot. But anyway, yep, finished object. I'm so happy that's done. I feel like I've been spiraling a bit in some of my whips, and it's not true. It's just my own sense of how things are. Oh, I forgot to tell you, I'm wearing an old whip from an old project from 2022. This is the Don't Look Up sweater, inspired by the sweater, one of a few sweaters that Jennifer Lawrence's character wears in that movie. When the movie came out, a few people did reverse engineered the pattern and offered charts, so you can see it goes down below the sleeve split, and I wanted to make one because I just thought it was a really cool pattern, and I think my colors are pretty true to what the colors were in the movie. I think it was a brown sweater with black and pink, or gray and pink. Mine is made out of hand spun, which I think I can show you up close. Yeah, so my entire sweater is made out of hand spun. The brown is this really soft and easily pilled Polworth from a farm from Sea Colors farm up in Maine. And I think there were a lot of second cuts in the fleece. I think I was meant to comb it before I spun it. It came in roving, but I remember her saying to me, I was a pretty new spinner at the time that I bought the fleece. I think I bought the fleece in 2019, and I had just learned to spin that year. And she said to me, "You're going to comb it right." And I was like, "Yeah," not knowing what she was talking about. Anyway, so when you have second cuts there, it means that there's like small bits. Like, so if the fleece is like 3 inches long, there might be pieces that are shorter than that are from the shearer going back a second time over the same area. So it doesn't, yeah, it happens. It's just something that happens with fleece. And usually those are removed in the picking process, which I just don't think this fleece was picked. I mean, it was picked somewhat, of course, because there was veg VM in it, veg matter in it as well, but not a lot. But it's really soft. It's very, very, very soft wool. The others, I don't remember. I do know the pink was based on the first season of Squid Games, and I have used this. It was fiber that I bought from Pancake and Lulu, and I used the yarn that I made. I bought 4 ounces, so I ended up with, I don't know, maybe 300 yards. I used the yarn that I made in a couple projects. So there was some pieces of it that had green, that was more predominantly green and blue. So I think the fleece was dyed green, pink, and blue. And those pieces ended up in different sweaters. It was just that this one worked out. Like, you think you can see a little bit of the blue up here, right? Whoops, wrong finger. Right here. But yeah, it just worked out that this was mostly the pink section. It was predominantly pink. And I don't remember about the gray, where that was from or anything like that. I'm wearing this because I ran into problems with this, which I'll tell you about in a minute. So when I ran into problems with that sweater, totally user error problems. I had on my list of things to do, knitting to do this year, to lengthen this sweater, because I had originally made it in a kind of a cropped fashion, and I just didn't think it suited the design. I thought that it would work out better if I made it like a normal length. So I'm gonna just put a picture in here. So I ended up ripping out all the rib, and then when I got to the main fabric, I just knit down for a few inches. I lengthened it by about 3 inches. Knit down for a few inches, added rib back, and bound off. And I like it so much more. It's just really, it's more of a traditional colorwork sweater length, I think. And it's, yeah, I've been wearing it a lot since I did that. Anyway, okay, so that is what I'm wearing and my finished objects. I have whips coming, decorative purposes. All right, so this is the Inge Sweater Solo by Lene Holmes Samsoe. I believe I'm saying her name right. And it's been a really, I love it. I love the way it looks, and I really am looking forward to having it done. However, I had a setback in this 2-week period, and you might have noticed it from last time. If you watched last episode when I showed it, I wasn't that much further than where I am right now. I think I was maybe a few rows up from where I am right now. And I realized, like, I was looking at the sweater and I was thinking that the chest seemed small. And I check my gauge. I always do gauge swatches, and I'm usually pretty good. There's always some fudge factor, right? Maybe you do the math wrong or things like that. And I was looking at it and I decided to, this is one of my, remember when Stephen West did Knit Truths like a long time ago? This is like a knit truth that I do. So I do my initial, when I cast on, I count my stitches. Then I do not count my stitches probably as frequently as I should. So especially in a colorwork pattern like this, where the stitch repeat is only 6 stitches, if I mess up on an increase, it's going to show up. Like, it's going to be really visible because the repeat won't work anymore. So I don't bother counting stitches. So I didn't bother to count stitches the whole entire time. Every time I did increases in the yoke, I didn't count stitches. I just kept going. Now you're going to see where this came back to bite me. When I got to splitting for the sleeves, I just followed the pattern. And when I did the underarm stitches, it didn't quite work out. Like, it wasn't going to match up with the pattern, and I was a little confused, but I ended up just, fudging it, figuring like there must have been a problem in there somewhere. I just don't know where. And I kept going. I kept knitting. And as I got to about the bottom of this last blue triangle down here, this one, I said to myself, it looks a little small in the chest. Let me try blocking it and seeing if that works. See if that makes it grow out, and then it'll be fine. So I took the whole thing like this on the needles, put it in a soak, laid it out to dry, and I was looking at it and I was like, it still looks pretty small even when it was wet. And it took 2 days to dry, and in that period of time that's when I worked on this, because this only took me a day or two, couple afternoons to get the length in. And I kept thinking about what was wrong, and I decided that I needed to do a stitch count. So I went back and counted my chest stitches, and I was off by 40 stitches, which is significant because the gauge is about 8 inches. I had lost about 8 inches because the gauge is about 21 or so inches, or stitches equal 4 inches. So I was short a lot. And what I realized I had done while the thing was still soaking wet on my blocking mats, I realized that I had done the last 8 rounds of increases where you're meant to just increase the body. I increased the sleeve like a dumbass. So I had to rip back. All the body that I had knit, and up until those last 8 rounds where you were meant to just increase in the body. And I don't know, I can't even explain like how I messed that up. I don't know what I was thinking. I do remember that at the point that you start doing those body increases, your sleeve front and backs are virtually the same stitch count. They're only off by like 5 stitches or 6 stitches. It's not it must be 6 because it's repeat, right? So it's not a lot. And maybe I mixed them up. I don't know, but I very definitely knew when I split for the sleeves that I had done the increases on the sleeves. Anyway, that's my setback. So, and then from there, now it's fine. Like, I can see it's definitely big enough. I did, and now you get the benefit of seeing what it looks like blocked, at least at the top here, above that red line that's just at the bottom of the screen. It's all blocked, and then below that, it is not blocked. But you really get to see how it looks, how nice it looks. But that took me out of making progress on this. I was really expecting to have this nearly to the ribbing by this episode. But I have been really motivated to get progress, to make progress on it. So yeah, so it's going. So let me talk about the yarn just to wrap things up here on this project. I'm sure some of you can relate to my tale of woe. The main color is Renninger Wool Company Better Together DK by Holly and Sweet Pea. Holly and Sweet Pea are the sheep. that contributed to this lovely yarn. It's 100% naturally colored merino, 225 yards, DK weight in 100 grams, I suppose. I don't see the grams on here, but anyway. Yeah, it's a farm yarn from Warrior's Mark in Pennsylvania. It's so soft and gorgeous, and it's really been amazing. I can't remember how many skeins I bought, but this is the tail end of the second skein. And then my gorgeous colors are, my stuff in my bag is tangled. Jill Draper makes stuff. Carnelian is the red. This is the Windam collection, and this is 100% American grown. Jill Draper is a yarn dyer and indie maker in in Kingston, New York, upstate New York. So, and the blue, the turquoise, is called Echeveria. Echeveria. I think that's a plant. I'm not sure though. So yeah, red and the blue. So that is what is happening with my Inge sweater solo. I really thought I would be further along. I'm gonna take a moment to just pin this back on Martha. Okay, moving on. I do have a new cast on that I want to talk about. I have not made too much progress on this. This is the middle of a row. We'll make do. We'll make it work. This is the Awesomer Gossamer by Stephen West. It's a shawl made out of, he had written the pattern for mohair, and I'm using a combination of brushed Surrey alpaca and Surrey silk and brushed cashmere lace weight yarn, and you hold two strands together. So you can see my color repeat in this first section here. I've got 2 color repeats done, and I started on my third. You do a total of 5 color repeats if you make his entire shawl. I'm not sure what I'm going to do yet because I am knitting on bigger needles than called for, because I think my brushed fuzzy yarns are a little thicker than the mohair, and the fabric was coming out quite thick, and I just decided that it's still pretty thick. It feels pretty thick to me. I wish it was a little airier. But this is going to be such a really luxurious, warm shawl. I'm not actually sure I'm going to keep it. I may give it away. But I'm using a mixture. I may give it to a friend or a family member. I'm using a mixture of yarns from a few different companies. These three are from Moondrake. All colors from, this is her Fuwa base, brushed cashmere and silk, I think. And they are not part of her regular, she changes her colors, so I haven't seen these in a while. I want to say this one's called Quartz, this is Electric Lilac, this is Electric Berry. So those are these. This is a Italian company called Filatura di Crosa, and it is a cashmere silk blend lace. It's really pretty. Also brushed. And then the other ones I'm using are Surrey alpaca. On this, I just have a little dab of this because I have another full skein elsewhere. These are all Surrey alpacas, Surrey silks. This one's from Lamb and Kid, Pop Rocks. These two are from La Bien Aimée. This is Floral Morganite and Wisteria. And finally, I have a very interesting new to me blend, new to me company. Let's see if I have their tag. Yes, it's a company called Kinua. It's called the Fuzzy Pink Lemonade, and it's made in Peru. And it's a blend of baby alpaca. Oh my goodness, baby alpaca, super kid mohair, and mulberry silk. So it's a really interesting blend. 25 grams, 218 yards. I bought one skein. Actually, No, I bought 2 skeins because most of the colors in this need close to 400 yards. And I'm in pretty good shape. There's one color, I think it's this one, that I may not have enough of, but I'll figure it out when I get there. But anyway, it's a real easy, fun pattern. You have like basically you're knitting stockinette for several rounds, and then you do a texture round to create those bubbles, those bubble patterns, and you're doing a cascade of bubbles. Oh, the other thing is you're never knitting with one color solidly. It's always 2 strands together. So the 2 lightest all the way down to the 2 brightest. And then in the last row, you're knitting the lightest with the brightest. So I think you can see that. So it's pretty interesting. It really gives you a really beautiful painterly effect to the color transitions, which I think is really cool. Like that Wisteria color from Aimée, if I could find it. It's such a little dab. This one, it's so dark and I really didn't think it was gonna work. But the way that we're knitting it, it actually works out pretty well, I think. It blends in pretty nicely with the other colors. So yeah, it's just, I have not been putting I sort of mentally decided that this was just going to be on my needles for a long time. And so I think that gave me permission to pick it up and set it down at will rather than pushing myself to go, to crank through it. He is having a knit along right now, but I think it's wrapping up. I think there's only one more week. And it's been fun to see people's color choices and stuff. There's some real interesting color choices. I think you really could have fun with the colors in that project. And Stephen and Penelope sold kits, so if you're the type of person who just doesn't really want to think about how colors should go together, that would be pretty easy. Oh, fuzzies in my mouth. All right, I have a new cast on. I remember this, my handspun that I showed off last week, or last episode. This beautiful indigo dyed yarn fiber from Wing and a Prayer, where it was dyed in 3, one was left natural white, and then there were 3 shades of indigo. And I made it so that it would self-stripe. So I have cast on a hat. I'm knitting the Manhattan hat by Tori Yu, and it's striping really beautifully. I've got 1 repeat done, so this from the dark blue to the brim is 1 repeat, and then it just is doing its next repeat. The stripes are not going to be exactly the same thickness throughout. It's going to be sort of this 4 shades of blue, or maybe slightly more, because I am getting the white and light blue marling, and I got the white and dark blue marling here. So I've got I would say technically there's probably 6 or 7 colors in the stripe. The Manhattan hat, if you're not familiar, is a triple fold, double fold, or single fold beanie. And I think you could do no fold too if you wanted. I'm gonna do a triple fold because I like a lot of extra fabric around my ears when it's cold. So yeah, I think I have to knit another. I'm not even halfway with to get the triple fold. Like at this point, I think I have a single fold. Yeah. So I have a long ways to go still. So we'll see. I have 2 skeins, so that I'm working on 1. You can kind of see how the yarn. Each skein has 4 repeats. You can see how the yarn is self-striping in there. So there's 2.5 repeats left. So yeah, I think I will need a dab of this to finish. I'm not sure though. We'll see how it goes. But yeah, it's really fun to see It's addictive to knit. So this has been my small travel, bring with me everywhere piece. And you know, it's knitting, it's 1x1 ribs, and knitting 1x1 is pretty mindless. It's pretty easy to just pick up and put down. So I do have a little tiny bit of spinning to show you. I can't remember. I think I told you last time that I was working on a new spin, and I think I just started it because this was just off my spinning wheel, and I have finished one skein. So I'm working on this. I probably showed the fleece to you recently because this is a fairly new purchase. I want to say I bought it around New Year's. It's fiber from Yarn Jam, a dyer down in Virginia. I believe she's in Virginia, like she's in the DC area. And it is 100% Shanika, which is a Rambouillet merino sheep, like a cross between those. It's super soft yarn or fiber. I was able to spin it pretty fine. This skein is actually still a bit damp. I took it off the spinning wheel this morning and gave it a soak so that I could share it with you. I freaking love the color. It's so gorgeous. I think it's a sport weight. I'm not positive though. I won't know until it's completely dry and I can weigh it. Or I can measure it, because with yarn that you spin, the way you get the yardage and the weight is by, and the you know, weight in terms of, is it fingering, is it sport, is it DK, is it worsted, is by taking it through a formula to get to grist, what is known as grist. And all yarn has a grist. And once you see the grist, you get the ballpark of, you get a better idea, better sense of which thickness, what the thickness is of your yarn. I mean, at least the formula I use is for wool, so I can't get that until I know how long this loop is. So I do take the yarn off the bobbin by putting it on a Nitty Knotty, a tool that is a yard around. But what happens when you take it off the Nitty Knotty, so every wrap, every full revolution around the Nitty Knotty is 1 yard. When you take it off the Nitty Knotty and soak it, it shrinks. So usually my wool ends up being somewhere between 34 and 32 inches instead of, I'm sorry, it's 2 yards, not 1 yard, it's 2 yards. So usually it ends up being 32 or 34 inches rather than 36. So then I do a little math to get to the exact yardage that I have. So I need it to be completely dry so that that loop is stable. So I have 2 more skeins to go, so I should end up with about 1,000 yards, maybe a little bit more, based on what I am estimating the yardage is on this one. And should be enough for a sweater. I am planning to do, let me just show you it is a 3-ply. So you can see the spin there, and there is a little bit of variation in the blue, so there's some light and dark mixing together. I bought 3 4-ounce bags of fiber of roving, and for each of the skeins I took a strip, a third of each bag, so that I wouldn't end up with any color differentiation, because a bright color like this, you can end up with some pretty wide range of color, and I wanted to be able to knit the piece or the sweater without worrying about dye lots or like a color change. So it should be very, very consistent in the knit. Certainly looks consistent even this way, though when you look close, my camera's blowing out a bit, but when you look close you can see the color differentiation a little bit more better. So yeah, anyway, that is my latest spin. I have 2 more skeins to go. I have one almost done. I just have to apply it, and the other one I haven't even started. So there are no singles of that one at all. And I got some new fiber. Oh my goodness. If you're a spinner and you know Melly Knits, a Canadian maker, you know how hard it is to get her fiber, and you know how special her fiber is. So I ended up getting some fiber that was from Melly. It's a Cormo Merino blend, 100 grams. I think it has silk in it too. Yeah, 20% sari silk, which is giving us the color. So she doesn't dye yarn, but instead to get color in there, what she does is add sari silk. And she gets like a pretty nice range of colors. Obviously I haven't spun it yet, but this will be the next thing that I will spin. Yeah, so the process of getting her fiber sells up very, very fast. It's like the hottest concert tickets you could think of. They sell that quickly, and you have to be really fast, have very fast fingers to get anything. And she does these periodic, what she calls sneak attacks, where she just uploads a couple batches, not a wide range of fleece, and you're able to grab some, like if you happen to see her post that she had it, and I just happened to be looking at my social media and there was a sneak attack and I was able to get it, and it sold out immediately. So I don't know how many bats she had. Speaking of Melly Knits, she had a sale today. It's Sunday, February 23rd. Yeah, so she had a sale today, and I went through and tried a few different ones until I finally got one. So yeah, all good. Yeah, I don't have much else for you. I am thinking a lot about some of the new cast-ons that I want to work on, and I have swatched for one of them. I don't really like the show-through on this swatch. Like, you can see the white behind because of the way I caught the floats. So I will be, when I make this sweater, I will be leaving longer floats to avoid that look. But this is from the book Anna Joanna Strands of Joy, and it is a sweater called Vintage Flannel. It's this one, which I think will be real fun in this blue and white combo. It'll look kind of like a varsity sweater. But yeah, I'm excited to get that going, and we'll see what else I get up to. I have a few other things planned. I'm not good at sticking to my plan, so I try not to share out too far in advance. But this yarn, actually, this blue, has been in my stash since 2020. It is another Jill Draper yarn. And the white is yarn that I bought at Vogue Knitting Live just last month with this sweater in mind. So I feel confident that this is gonna happen. Oh my goodness, I have news. I am going to be going to Maryland Sheep and Wool. We booked our hotel a couple weeks ago and got our tickets and stuff, so we're ready. It's my first time going. Very excited that I was able to commit and get a group of friends who are interested in going. So I always thought if I had to go alone, I would probably do a day trip where I would just drive down. It's a pretty long drive. And I have an electric car. I probably mentioned that in the past. With my electric car, the mileage is not so good. Mileage on electric cars is very, very good and generally awesome. I have a older version, and so I don't get more than 100 miles before I need a charge. So it would have been a long trip. in that car. So I'm really happy that I'm able to, as someone else has volunteered to drive, and I'm able to just ride down and enjoy company for a couple days of wool fumes. So very excited about that. Yeah, and that's about it. Everything else is pretty good, and it's been very cold. We've had a lot of snow. I kind of got tired of filming it, so I don't have any clips of snow. So when it's, when it's not snowing, it's been windy and just really, really bitter out. I'm over it and ready for spring. Our spring comes a little late here, I think, in the Northeast where I live. Oh, I didn't tell you, I live and work in New Jersey, right across the river from New York City. My apartment building is right on the river, right on the Hudson River. We're up on the cliffside, actually. There are some apartments that are down on the river. I refuse to live down there because they get flooding quite a lot. And so I live up on the cliff, up on the Palisades. We're several hundred feet above the water line, and we have a spectacular view because folks worked really hard to maintain our sight line and keep those buildings down on the river from being so tall that they blocked our view. So yeah, it's really great. It's been really an interesting time to live in this area with the congestion pricing, and I live right next to not next to, but I live very close. I live a mile away from the Lincoln Tunnel along the Hudson River, and I live about a mile from the George Washington Bridge. Those are two major crossings into the city, and the congestion pricing on the Lincoln Tunnel side has made life beautiful on this side of the river because it's a deterrent to all the cars. So there's been a lot less traffic in my neighborhood and in my on my commute, which is amazing. So we'll see if they keep it up. We don't know. It's a grand experiment right now, and I love it though. I hope they do keep it up, and I think New Yorkers like it too. From what I've talked to, people I've talked to in New York seem to really enjoy it. But my New Jersey governor did file a court case against them because he says it's hurting New Jerseyans. I don't believe that though, because our transit system is really good here in New Jersey. All transit lines lead to New York City, so it's super easy to get to New York. You do not need to be in a car unless you are a tradesperson, and then it's just the cost of doing business, a little extra cost. So I don't really think it's a big deal, and I think when the dust settles, people will have accepted it and it'll all be good. But yeah, other than that, my job's been crazy, and I am looking forward to spring break, which is in 2 weeks. I'll get a break from working and that'll be lovely. Yeah, so 2 weeks from now I'll be on break. Yay. So maybe I'll get more knitting done and more crafting done. That would be really great. But I am just waffling now, so I'm gonna sign off, and thank you so much for hanging out with me today. And I may have some clips of cats if you didn't already see clips of cats. I have two beautiful cats that are doing really well and are just a joy. So yeah, hope you have a good next couple weeks, and I'll see you soon.